Alrighty. Nice to see some old friends in the crowd. Welcome. So I'm just going to jump on in here. I'm trying to prompt myself without any notes, purely notes on the screen. I should know the content pretty well because I live it every day, so let's see how this goes. I'm just going to run through a few bits here, who we are as a company, why we did this as a project, and what we're doing. As a company, the company I work for is called Home Delivery Service. There's three pillars of the company. There's one which is purely home delivery. We specialise in chilled, but also do ambient product. I joined the company about 3 odd years ago. Before that I was moonlighting for the business as well, but when I joined it was doing about 50,000 deliveries a week. Then COVID happened. We hit nearly 200,000 at one point. We level out now kind of between 120, 150,000 a week. That's that part of the business. We've got warehouses around Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide. Another pillar of the business is the retail delivery service. We do large delivery, large truck chilled delivery for that one. So it's things like 7-Eleven, Ampol, BP, all that kind of thing. And then Arctec is the third pillar of the business, which is the main centre I work for. We've also got Paul here, who's our lead back end, and Pat, who's working on project as well. But Arctec is basically the platform that runs the company. Let me think here. How do we go? What we build is basically an internal control system for the whole company. Logistics in general. We've got client-facing dashboards and customer tracking. For native apps, we are iOS only because one of my CEOs is very much Apple fanboy as well, so we've always stuck with iOS. We've got iPod scanners floating around the warehouse with sled scanners attached to them, which is the scanning app. We've got packing app, which runs on iPads with Bluetooth scanners as well. Lodger app, which is our client app that we have facing to clients, which does printing of labels and Post labels and scanning of goods. And then the one I really want to talk about tonight is our driver app. This has been our little project we've been working on now for roughly 12 months. The reason we went into it was that little image on the right-hand side there is, I blanked out the branding on it because I didn't think it was nice to talk about other people's apps, but very vanilla, very inflexible. The reason the company started with it was because it was there and available and we didn't have time to develop our own, but it kind of worked, very limited in what it could do. We had no control over the platform and it was stagnant. It was just not changing at all for the 3 odd years that it was being used, and had data separation. So we had to basically export all our data to it to make it work and then get it back in again. So just not really a helpful tool. And I hated the look of it too, but that's a whole other thing. So where I started was prototype. So just thought I'd take kind of through the journey of where this app has come from. We knew we wanted to build it ages ago, but never had the time and resource to be able to do it until we grew our team. When I started with the company, it was really me, Paul, and kind of that was it. We've now got kind of 7, 8 people on tech team and trying to grow it more. So we've got the resources now to be able to do it. I started out with a prototype, pretty rough, just to be able to get the UI layout, some experimentation, pull data from the API so we could at least start to get the APIs built, validate the UX, throw it in some hands of a few different drivers to see if it's going to work, start to tick things off to see how big it needed to get. That was kind of where my code mainly stopped. We went all in with SwiftUI at that point because why not? Very good for quick prototyping, and I got a lot built in a short amount of time. But at that point, it kind of got pushed aside because I didn't have the time to be able to take it any further. And that's when Oliver flew in from Itty Bitty. I managed to get Oliver joined the team for, I think it was roughly about 6 weeks. He was free, so it was great to be able to get him in to do it. He really put the meat and the bones into the app that was starting to put in a database structure because this is a driver app that's out in people's hands and we're covering regional areas, night, day. It needs to work offline. So my little rough prototype that's just pulling data from Live API, not really good if you're out in an area that's got no data connection, or if we have any sort of server outage or whatever, we don't want to disable a fleet of 450 trucks out during the day. So database, big help. My goal with putting together this little presentation was to let you know kind of how we got to where we are. I'm hoping to do a part 2 of this where Pat can help me, where we dive into a bit more technical aspect of problems we solved, how we did it, and a bit more under the belly. But touching on a few of those bits here, GRDB we're using to basically build a cache of data from the server as well as a layer of interactions that we're always meshing over the top so we know what's been done by a particular driver out in the field on top of the data that may not have been uploaded to the server yet. We introduced a lot of structure because I was really poor on my prototype with that. I removed all my assumptions, started to get data-driven experience going on, and pushing data back to an API because I wasn't doing that in my original. So this enables us to do at least some field tests, put it in the hand of a few people, compare apples for apples with the application we were using, see if it was going to cover the bases basically. That was when another developer moved in, so Pat joined the team at this point and really managed to get us to the next level. Past that, okay, we've got something starting to work now we need to actually fill in. My goal was to get something feature parity to what we had. Goal in that was roughly reach 50% of our fleet. On a busy day, it's about 450 drivers. If I can get 50%, I get a good saturation of what we think we need to do, get some good feedback. Drivers are very good at giving you feedback when it's bad, not so much when it's good. And when we started doing this, what I wanted to do was make sure that once we got this application in drivers' hands to start with, it didn't change too much in the early days because we need to get them comfortable with it. It's their daily job. They're out on the road 6 to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week using it. We want them to be comfortable with it, and we don't want them to think that things are constantly changing and moving. So a lot of these features we weren't really able to get end to end from day one. So there was a bit of faking it till we make it. Things like some of the images we were capturing, we do things like capture an image of the driver to make sure that we've got the correct driver on board, get the condition of his van to make sure it's clean. We weren't actually feeding them back to the server at that point. We knew we wanted to, and we knew we wanted to get the behaviour of the user to do it. The fact that they didn't know was not going back to the server, that's okay. We'll fill in those gaps later on. But what I didn't want to do was start putting these features in, after 3 weeks, now you've got to do this, now you've got to do these all extra features. So set an expectation early and fill it in. So that's worked out well for us, I think. Haven't had any bad feedback on that. But yeah, as I say, trying to hit feature parity, get people on board and moving. We're logging a lot of events back to the server just so we can understand what was going on, when we need to fix errors, or just general behaviour to learn about the users. I think I've got a slide later on that goes into some of that behaviour that we're starting to learn. We had that fleet rolling out for, I suppose, about maybe 2 months. And then we really wanted to push to go, okay, we really need everyone on board because we had 2 versions of the data, 2 systems being used. It really wasn't helpful. We needed to get all together. So next goal was to hit that 95% mark, which initially was a bit of a hard sell. A bunch of people out there that have already got a device. We need them to use an iOS device. So we use a lot of contractors. I think about 10% of the vans we have we own, the rest of them are contractors. So we need to get a contractor on board to get a device. We need to kind of sell the benefits to them of why we're moving to this platform. And initially it kind of got hard, and we're trying to figure out a way to get people on board, and we're trying to offer to say, we'll buy devices for you and rent them to you or whatever. Finding a way, and my CEO gave it a really hard push 1 week, and I think within 2 weeks we had 95% of drivers using it. They had an iOS device, they found one somewhere, managed to sell the benefits, and ramped up really quickly, and really happy that I think we've got, on a busy day when we've got 450 runs, there might be 3 people using the old system at the moment. So pretty happy with the saturation we've got now. We went iOS only because we're able to do it in-house with the people we had. Quicker to do, as we're trying to figure out what this product needs to be, it's quicker to do one solution rather than try to mirror it and burn money twice. And we're kind of hoping that we could stick to iOS. We know we need to go to Android at some point to make it a more sellable solution across the board. So it's not just for us, it's for other people as well. But the longer we can resist while we're moulding the tools, the happier I'll be supporting one product. Dealing with it on the way through, new tools, SwiftUI combine, some quirks, iOS 15, iOS 16, we learn a few little things, but we'll go into that later in our kind of more under the covers talk. We're always going to find missing requirements. It's hard to figure out when you've got a simple product to start with what you really want it to be. So this was this bit filling in our bits that we really wanted to do that didn't have in the original prototype, but we knew would be beneficial. We started to build in granular controls so that we could feature toggle things on. Feature toggling, important when you're developing a product on the fly really quickly, but being able to toggle things on per run, not so much per driver, but it's per run, per state, per client. We've got a bunch of different ways to toggle controls now, which we never had before. So being able to build new workflows, basically you can roll up to a delivery. Okay, this is one of those sort of deliveries, we need to capture different information. So it's starting to get a lot of power in there. Some things we learned along the way. I was really keen I'm a bit of a dark mode user, Pat's a bit of a light mode user. Good to get a balance to see who uses what. Interested to see 40% dark, but also you've got night drivers and day drivers. So for me, it's always good to support both light and dark. So we've always got a test for both, but I like to get that feedback to understand. Another thing we're hoping to do soon is understand the main language of the driver, so we can make sure we're testing for that. And if there's anything extra we can do with translation. So just logging that kind of feedback back. Also really surprised to see so many of the drivers using the big devices, which is often where you find those little quirky bugs with UI. And yeah, roughly 40% people are using the big device, which kind of surprised me. Especially when you're having trouble getting people on iOS and suddenly you discover everyone's got, the $2,500 model of phone. It's, kind of funny.
That's right on.
Yeah, true. But yeah, it's amazing how many people don't have auto update turned on. Brain boggling, that one, especially auto update on test flight. That bugged me too. But just to give you an idea of the system we've built out, this is control panel we're using, so each one of those is a different run, little boxes, a different delivery, telling us properties of it. The red ones are errors or failures, blue ones are yet to be done, green ones have been done. The little locks there, they're some of our toggles we can turn on. We can control the runs so they have to do them in sequence. We can control them so that they have to use a fail code. So we're experimenting with some of these new features we're building. When we look at a run, kind of looks like this. This is purely web end. So we see they're starting in our DC down in Clayton, running through. The dotted blue bits that yet to be done. The little red truck covered up by the number 57 is where the truck currently is. And we're getting a bit of feedback about the device. We've got a little departure code feature, so we can send them an SMS with a departure code so they're allowed to leave the depot. They've been checked. But coming to the actual app, they start with the check-in, they have to do their vehicle check. They do a load check, so they have to scan all their their boxes before they're allowed to leave, to make sure they've got the correct load and we know that they're going to have a successful run. And that was one of the big ones that the original app we used didn't do. We weren't able to scan boxes, so if they're delivering something, the amount of errors because they're picking the wrong box out of the truck was part of the problem. So now they actually have to physically scan it. This is what a general run looks like, except usually it has 60 or 70 drops on it. I'm just taking some screenshots here from our demo data because we have a lot of customer data in our system. I try to keep that behind the wraps. They do temperature checks along the way. We try to flag business deliveries. So it's done to experiment with UI to see how we can get the important information where errors are caused up to centre. So, you know, this second one here, it's a business delivery, so we need them to take attention to the fact that it's a business. There may be parking issues, there may be a reception they need to go to and get something signed. So it's a few different features there. The fact that it's a 2-box delivery, not a 1-box, they know they've got to get 2 boxes out of the van. There's this sequence locking. Really hard to predict your ETA on deliveries when you've got planned ETAs. You know, there's 3 minutes between this delivery and 8 minutes to the next one. If they do them out of order, you can't predict ETAs anymore. So we try to, most of the clients have got it enabled. We send an SMS just before the delivery. So we say your delivery is coming up next. Tracking links so they can see the time it's going to be there. If they go rogue and they're going chopping all around, we can't do it anymore. But that's why we started putting in the sequence lock. But we also need to be a bit relaxed because if you were delivering down Collins Street at 9:30 in the morning, trying to find a park, challenging. So if you can deliver that parcel before you deliver that parcel, just because you can find a park, we don't want to be too hard on the controls. So we allow them to go a couple of deliveries out of order. And I'm trying to keep that dark mode, light mode thing going on. Dark mode example, and that's, you know, once it's complete, we've got completed there, some failures as well. Once they jump into a delivery, this is basically saying this is your next delivery. So we've given directions. We're not doing internal directions within the app. Every driver's got their own preference. Like personally, I like using Waze in my car. Apple Maps sometimes. A lot of people trust Google more. When it comes to directions, and you're talking about drivers out in the field, you don't want to say this is the best direction service to use, because then they come back at you and say, yeah, well, you know, it's always giving me poor directions. Use your own direction service. We give them options. Ask them for directions that says which service do you want to use. I prefer to do it that way. That way, if they're taking the wrong way, it's not our app's fault. We'll go with that. So that's the directions. We are just starting to collect images on houses. So we send out a tracking link. We say, give us an image of your property so we're going to help identify it when the driver rolls up. So it's a new feature we're just experimenting with at the moment. We're calling out that there's 3 boxes here, debug version. So when you call support, it actually calls Pat's phone, I think, doesn't it? And yeah, again, calling out multiple places. There's 3 boxes to deliver. Business delivery, again, flagging it differently. They get there, they scan it. We're just using the default scanner at the barcode reader in the iOS library at the moment. It's not perfect, so I am looking at using a third-party library for that because the error correction barcode's not good enough, but does the job enough. So scan the box off, make sure you've got the right item to deliver. This was one we just put in recently. We found the drivers weren't reading the instructions very well. They were just rushing through and not stopping. So this little progress bar takes 2 seconds before it enables the button so they can jump in. So hoping that extra little 2 seconds gets them to take note as to what they're doing. And then we grab the proof of delivery images, a signature if we can. We've got different workflows for different deliveries. And then if it's a corporate delivery, like a supermarket or a 7-Eleven, etc., we're just starting to work with this new concept now where we've got proof of delivery, but actually what we're delivering. So if we're rolling up at BP, we've got 60 different line items to deliver. We've got milk, bread, etc. They need to tick it off to say, yes, that's actually what we delivered. So trying to dream up an interface to do that clearly in a little phone screen. Challenge. Pat's been doing a really good job at just kind of throwing the problem and figuring out a solution to display it. I'm hoping the drivers will start using iPad minis for the big corporate deliveries, because I think that'll help as well. Contacting support. This is a feature we built. Once we got the sequence locking in, we could then build it to clarify before they fail a delivery. One of the problems we're having was things like, it's 4 o'clock, it's date night tonight, I've got 3 deliveries, they're all the way out there. I'm just going to fail them with a reason and just cut the run short. So by needing a fail code, it means they need to call support. And someone says, yeah, it's the last 3 drops. Yeah, obviously, I can see you're not there yet, so you can't fail it because you know we're near the delivery. And we can kind of sort through some of those problems and guide the driver to do the right thing. It helps reduce errors. I think this particular feature is only launched just in a soft launch to a few runs at the moment, but already the app has reduced our tickets from, I think we were getting around about 900 a week down to about 300 a week. So it's made a big difference in our errors. So really looking good on that one. It's not even errors, sometimes it's just tickets that are raised on a delivery. So that was a fun little one to build. We built that one with Flex and Twilio so that we can send an API call to say, I'm requesting to fail this delivery. And then when someone calls from the number that the driver's registered to, we can say, the driver's calling about this delivery, and everything's there in forefront. And then this is how it looks in the end. This is the beta version of our dashboard at the moment. This isn't the one that customer support are using, but it just shows the delivery images coming through. We put little timestamps and GPS coordinates on the photos so we can actually prove where they were taken, because it's often handy to have that extra checkpoint. So this is where we are at the moment. Yeah, roughly 99.5% of drivers using it daily. 120, 150,000 deliveries going through it each week. We've got support queries down, like driver support is pretty rare. On a normal day, we don't hear anything about it. So less than 10 a week was a good target to hit. Running pretty smoothly, I think. So our next thing is to start looking more at more features we can build, more clarity, more alerts. So it's quite a long pipeline we want to build, but really happy to have got this far. We were having some issues for a while and now started getting more emails from drivers saying, yeah, it's really stable, it's really quick. Happy with the way the app's working for them. So really happy to be in this position now. I want to do a second cut on this as well. Maybe in a month or two, we can put something together, getting under the hood, where we can show our kind of tripwires we tripped along the way, some of the weird things that we found we had to dealing with people in the field on mobile connections, things like, you'd be amazed how many people, we're struggling to get people on iOS devices. Sometimes they've got a main device as an Android, so they're hotspot sharing from one device to another. But then you get people, like, I can't understand why this driver's they're logged in on that device and that device, but they're in the same location. Oh, it's because they're using one in the van and they're actually using one when they get out and scan. They've got 2 devices. So some things you learn by gathering data along the way is really kind of surprising. So logging all this data has taught us a lot. But one last little plug there, I'm hiring, so if anyone thinks this little project sounds interesting and wants to come talk to me, yell out. That's me.
All right, I really, really hope you guys are delivering my next iPhone on launch day.
Do you need to be refrigerated?
Okay, as long as I want it chilled, yeah, they're right. So we have a question from the live stream.
Yeah.
From Neil. He says, he refers back to your note on the surprisingly high number without auto update turned on.
Mm-hmm.
How was that quantified? Just by how many people running old versions sometime after new version? And
Yeah, we're
some
constantly
guide
logging,
yeah.
what iOS version and what app version people are running, and it's amazing how many. Because at the moment it's all still through test flight, so it's amazing how many people don't have auto update turned on test flight.
So it's test flight auto update, not App Store auto
but
update.
both. There's so many wide, varied versions of iOS. Kind of surprised me that it's just not the default update these days. But
Be interesting to dive into that a bit more, because we see as a bank very high auto update enabled, but that might just be a demographic difference or something. Did anybody else have any questions? Not just me. Yep. Oh. Hang on, what am I doing?
Yo, love the talk.
Thank you.
What would be the weirdest driver report you've got while testing the app?
I don't think I've had any crazy ones. The crazy things I see are actually the requests for how you want your delivery done. The amount of interesting delivery instructions we get that are more than 200 characters, you'd be surprised. It's a bit of a running joke. It's like, the guy wants me to open the back gate and then go around back fridge, open the door and, do it in a chicken suit. It's the wide varied requests you get. It's a tricky one to live up to. Especially in the middle of the night, you get people that don't realise it's going to be delivered in the dark. You've got someone trying to open someone's back gate, go around and then be accosted for, what are you doing? At 2 a.m. Baz?
Yes. You say you could tell how many people have auto update enabled. How do you tell that?
Sorry, what was great?
How can you tell how many people have auto update enabled on the device?
Have what? Auto update? Oh, just by the fact that we were releasing versions twice a week, and you got people running the version from 6 weeks ago. I kind of thought, the first thing test flight does, you want me to, of course, press auto update, don't you? I'd say 20% of people aren't on the constant new version until we badger them saying you're not on the right version and update.
Okay, so like X number of people within 24 hours or 40 hours.
Well, within 2 days, I'd say.
Yeah,
I'd call it 2 days. If they're on the current version within 2 days,
Cool,
auto
right.
update's turned off.
I thought I'd missed an API there.
It's another one we're trying to fake it till we make it. We weren't, didn't have the call to check what the current version was, so we weren't letting them know that you're not on the current version. Of course, once you're old, you're not going to get that anyway, so we had to build that in pretty quick.
Fletch, can I ask a meta question? Apologies, it's not a code question. What's the team structure at your place? Like I think you said you had six.
We're pretty little
engineers. Talking about design, UX, server. Just what are the engineers you've got working on this large thing?
Paul's lead back end. We've got 2 other full stacks that are outside Australia. So it helps for different time zones when you're running 24-hour business. We've got 1 front-end dev web in the office, 1 iOS app developer that works on the other 3 apps. Pat works solely on the driver app, so most of the code is written by him. I just kind of review it. So pretty small team. So Pat's done most of this on his own with Oliver's bones that he built earlier. Pretty sure most of my prototype code is pretty much bashed out of it now.
Still there going strong. have you guys got like a CI pipeline running alongside this sort of stuff, or you kind of just?
It's been on my to-do list for 6 months. I haven't done that one yet.
That's not a critique, just a question. Yep.
It's called Pat.
Yeah.
No, it's built. I build it on my machine. That's the one bit I do. I do the version bump. That's my commit. Twice a week.
It's a selling point. It's a selling point. You're hiring. There's opportunities left, right, and centre.
Plenty.
It's really exciting. Yep. Those numbers were awesome.
Thank you.